It's happening.
And there it is. There it goes onto the YouTube as well.
How I'm easy. A glass of water. Sorry.
It's happening. And there it is. There it goes onto the YouTube as well. I'm easy. A glass of water. Sorry. What is going on? Perhaps that did not work. Turn it off. That was really weird.
I don't know. It was like a time loop. I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to make it. Like, can I?
Well, maybe we're just destined to be only on one platform at a time. So that's okay. Maybe we'll figure it out for next time. I've just been enjoying some YouTube lives. And so, you know, if people are subscribed there, it'll pop up and say we're live. It sounded like a good idea, but maybe it's not.
I think I'm just gonna leave it how it is and see if it works. It's like I was watching the live, but I think if I close it, it's still happening.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because the YouTube lives are like 40 seconds behind or something like that. So just keep that shut, please.
Okay, I think we're good now, but I do need a glass of water.
Cool. Well, she'll get her water. Maybe you'll get your tea or whatever else. But it's fun to see the far and wide places from which you all are sitting, from around the corner here in Wilmore, Kentucky, to Ireland and Scotland and Arizona and Minnesota, all over the place. So welcome, welcome. It is so nice to see you all tonight. Happy full moon in Gemini. Wondering how everybody's feeling on account of that. I could pull a card, but I'd have to go grab my deck. I sort of forgot about that. Let me get it real quick. I think the sound is fine. I know I had to turn my own volume up, so of course it doesn't help Jessica if she can't hear anything anyways, but I think the rest of you can hear us because you would have said. So let's see. These are the really simple cards, keeping it simple for tonight and the full moon energy. I always like the astrology write-ups from Rising Woman, since I am not an astrologer, but I do resonate and appreciate it. So I read her update this morning, and seems to me that the full moon in Gemini, is probably feeling all the things for some people more than others, and focused on the theme of exploring and taking in new things. Gemini being the first air sign of the zodiac, so you know, letting new information come in and playing with it and kind of being in a childlike state was the gist. And so we'll see what card comes through for some or all or any of us tonight. Just kind of grounding in as much as you can, wherever you are, in your car or home or office or wherever you may be. Just kind of gathering your own energy in your own body right now so that we all can be in a focused state. It's easy to just kind of feel like you're out there somewhere on a Zoom meeting. So coming into your body and and sort of looking around and seeing the beautiful faces. In fact, it would be so great to see more beautiful faces. So if you have the video turned off and you're able to turn it on, that would be much appreciated. It's always a little weird seeing like the black boxes, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So this is the card. It's from the Roots and Wings deck, and this is the Blossom card. So that's cool. Growth and coming into new life and new ideas that can definitely go along with the Gemini full moon. And I need to kick a child out of my room, but I'll be right back. You can move on, please. Come on, there we go.
The Blossom card. I love that, especially with this topic tonight, which is becoming a doula, becoming an indie birth doula. While we're waiting for Marin, I would love, oh, you're right back. I would love to know who over in the chat, well, I guess let's do it this way. Can you type why you're here tonight? That would be so helpful to know what brought you here tonight. Are you an aspiring doula? Are you already a doula? Are you just here for fun and to hang out? Have you maybe taken our training already? I would love to know some of that. But if you wanted to talk more about the card, you totally should, Mary.
No, I think that's good. Cove interrupted, but I think it came through okay. Blossom.
Mm-hmm. We'll wait while you type. And I was going to double check that other email went out, the one that it's happening now.
Did you see it? I got it.
Okay. Okay, we've got Francois, an elder midwife. Yes, hello. Good to see you here. My niece has asked me for support in a home birth, so doing my homework. Elizabeth says, I'm a high schooler wanting to be a doula, no training yet. Camilla says, I'm an aspiring doula and potential future midwife. Very good, very good. Angelia, hello. I completed the Doula Academy earlier this year and feel like Marin and Margot always have such wisdom to share, so it's fun to be here listening. So glad you're here. Gabby's already a doula. At the same time, I love the way you educate and your philosophy about birth. Shanae says, I'm here to learn more about what it would take to become a doula and eventually a midwife. I'm a new doula. I'm interested in the training you offer for sure. Sierra says it's been calling me, but it comes in waves. Yeah. Shayla says, I'm a new starting birth sister and just want to know more. I'm in the midwifery program with you guys. I'm here to find out more. Your training stands out to me. Currently a doula working to be certified through Doula. Okay, cool. So there's a mix. Just as a follow-up, since you maybe already have your typing fingers out, I would love to know if anyone has like specific questions about becoming a doula that they're really hoping that we address tonight in the little bit of time that we have. That would be very helpful to know so that we can make sure we work those in if possible.
Elizabeth, you might want to change it to gallery view, I believe, if you're only seeing one person at a time. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, Margot, but I thought it'd be fun to just like reminisce as to where we even came up with this doula training, because neither of us were doulas in our pre-midwife life. And so I remember thinking a long time ago, well, I guess I remember thinking that I didn't understand the value of making a doula program. Obviously that's changed, but you know, it's a unique perspective in a sense because we didn't come from the doula world ourselves, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah, let's do that, because I think that speaks to some of what people have already shared over in the chat, things about, you know, maybe already having done a training, but really feeling like they need more. and something better, something more comprehensive. So I think we can speak to all of that, and all these other questions that are coming in as we go. So yes, when did this all start?
Well, I know it was after the midwifery school, right? I can't even quite remember myself. I think we did the school first, and then yeah, I kind of don't remember. So maybe it's not a great story as to how we came up with this.
No, I think it is. I mean, it was definitely after the school. Actually, okay, so here's where it's kind of starts. So we created our indie birth midwifery program, and I believe we were a couple years into that and realized we really needed to make an intro to midwifery course, because even the really cool students who were coming in who had already had apprenticeships, who maybe had already done some or a lot of self-study about midwifery, came to us to study, and we thought that they knew more than they did. We assumed that they knew more of the material, the foundational material, than they actually did. And so this is a lesson that comes up over and over and over and over again, really in any business niche, I think. So if there are people here who do other things, I think you maybe can relate in that when you do a thing, you kind of assume everybody has a basic understanding of it, because it's hard to put ourselves back into the place where we were when we started. So anyways, we learned that after a few years, we needed to create an introduction to midwifery course, which is our introduction to autonomous midwifery course that is part of our program. But as we made it, I think we tried making it like a prerequisite. I think we were like, if you want to apply for the school, you need to do this thing first. But it started feeling like too many hoops to jump through. And so we just put it in with the midwifery school as the start. So if you are here and you're interested in becoming a midwife, this will be interesting to you, perhaps. Our program is 3 parts. The first part is the intro course. But while we were trying to get people interested in taking the intro course, we realized that a lot of people who were interested in it were not actually interested in being midwives. They actually wanted to be doulas, and they were wondering if maybe it could be a way for them to learn some really cool stuff from us, because we didn't have a doula training program. So the Doula Academy was born out of this, as most things are here at Indie Birth, this desire, this request from the community to create something. So people were asking us over and over again, hey, do you have a doula training? Hey, do you recommend any of the doula trainings out there? And we really didn't. And so the intro to midwifery course became sort of the base, really, of our doula training. And so sometimes people are surprised to hear that. But I think it'll make more sense as you hear us talk about our philosophy around the role of the doula, which is that we believe that doulas need to really have a firm understanding of how birth works. And so the intro to midwifery course is that. It's how birth works. It's the foundational stuff. It's understanding the way that birth work looks in your own life. And so a lot of that became the foundation and the seed for the Doula Academy, which, we of course have added a ton of like doula specific things, especially around business and building a doula business successfully and sustainably. But that's where the Doula Academy came from, was actually from another product that people were trying to repurpose. They're like, can we maybe kind of have this be like a doula training? And so instead of trying to have them just take something that wasn't exactly what they were looking for, we created the thing that they were looking for, and we keep improving it all the time. How was that for a reminisce?
Yeah, that was very good. I was reminiscing in my head too about how before we had our training, I bet you feel this way, but really wasn't all that impressed by doulas. So just bear with me here, but
you're skeptical about the idea of creating a doula training.
Yeah, I hadn't thought beyond the box either. And particularly in Arizona, I feel like it's different here. I speak very highly of the doulas I've met here, and I see the work they're doing, although a lot of them have been in our training, which is really cool. But back in Arizona, when I was serving as a midwife there, the doula thing was just so lame. They were just women who were accompanying other women to hospital births, and it didn't really seem like it was very educational, and it really just felt like a way to enable women into poor choices. And, I think that's a lot of doulas out there. And I think that's a lot of training. Like there isn't an actual role for the doula. And I think we are trying to redefine that and allow the students that come our way into that training to redefine that for themselves. So opening up the word to mean whatever you want it to mean after you take this training. Maybe you're teaching, maybe you're doing one-on-one education. Maybe you're, who knows, like doing postpartum work, so really opening up the definition, because like I am saying, I too had kind of a closed view of it years ago, and I was really unimpressed. I think the average doula is very unimpressive. They're not really making a huge change necessarily. They're more just like enabling a broken system. So we're not about that, although you're free to do whatever you would like. And yeah, that felt exciting to me when we made this, to be like, okay, doulas are so influential. And I don't remember the moment at which that hit me, but it's true. As a doula, you have so much more influence on women than I think midwives do. Midwives can be, intimidating or scary. I mean, we don't get invited to the same stuff even, right? Like doulas are just more like your sister, more like your friend. And I think doulas have a real capacity for change. And that's kind of what we latched onto as well. So it wasn't just to come up with another program, it was to facilitate real change in a different role than the midwife.
Mm-hmm. And he says, I love that. Yes, I want to change the birth world.
Yeah, and even that, like, not to go on and on about it, but I think even that, deserves some introspection and or maybe like personal introspection, because I think changing the medicalized world, again, you're free to do whatever you would like, but I don't necessarily think that's the way to go or what we're even challenging women with. But changing it kind of from the internal state of the women that we're serving and seeing how that changes the external and the choices they make. So I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm not one to think we're going to go into the hospitals and make all the change. In fact, I probably would not be that person. Cool. It does make sense, I think. Yeah, it'd be good to read more of the comments too, just because if this is going to YouTube, nobody can see them. But
yeah. Maybe can you read some more? I was going to pull a couple links.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read them, but I guess we're not necessarily answering everyone right now. Diane says, I guess my interest is to support women in general to birth naturally with appropriate support, not interested in having a business, kind of past all that, but see a need for gaining knowledge to do this as best I can. And, that definitely resonates too. The business aspect can feel really important and or daunting for some women. And I think there's just as many women that really just want to kind of live it as part of their soul's path. And, money may come, of course, with that.
We are going to answer these questions over here. I think we're just kind of waiting for like the best time in the flow of the night here. I think this would be a cool one to do next, though. This one from Sierra. What's a common spiritual or personal conflict or topic that aspiring doulas work through? Is there a if there's a commonality in that at all? Because everyone is different, of course. Well, I think there's a lot, and we cover these in our training, and also we do weekly live calls like this with our students. And so often these kinds of things come up on those calls as well. But as far as like topics, I would say there's an element of, like definitely imposter syndrome. I think a lot of doulas struggle with confidence. And gosh, where was I reading something so cool the other day about confidence? Oh my gosh, it was in that book, in this book. Let me see. I'll see if I can find the quote next time you're talking here. But yeah, confidence, imposter syndrome, a lot of money stuff, like we just kind of mentioned. A lot of people write to us saying they want to do our training, but they really don't feel like they want it to be a thing that makes them money, which is fine. But then a lot of people kind of don't really do it because it's really difficult work. It's, it can be a lot to be a doula. And so it's easy to burn out if you're not being valued and compensated in a way that makes it so you can, really be living your best life. So there's a lot of money stuff that we work through in the training. Oh, what else? Like worthiness around like even taking the time to do the training, like some women like know this is what they're meant to do and what they want to do. And they feel bad kind of taking time away from their other responsibilities or their kids. Yeah, childcare comes up. That came up actually on today's midwifery call that I did. What else, Maren? Other like broad strokes, kinds of like spiritual, emotional stuff.
Yeah, I posted a blog that I wrote a while ago, so you could save these perhaps if you're interested, or just open them.
Yeah.
It's called 3 Reasons to Not Be a Doula. And one of them, I think, addresses, just sort of like the excuses that people make. And again, like that's fine. But if you really want to do something, we're also here to help you see deeper past those excuses.
Yeah, Sierra, exactly. It might sound silly, but I've thought, what if I'm not a good enough person to be a doula to support others? That's exactly what I mean by the imposter syndrome thing. So we talk about that a lot, again, in the program, and then also on our weekly calls where we support people. There's a bunch of questions here about like the business portion. Should we wait or should I just like blab about that for a second?
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, we don't certify, that's on purpose. So if that's your question, 100% no. But please read 2 blog posts that we linked to, one by Margot, one by me, and you can learn more about that.
We send you a certificate of completion at the end where, we say that you have finished the training with us after you've submitted all your final projects. But right, we do not do like, again, just read the blog posts, and I think it'll become clear to you. The 1-2 back that I linked called Why Doula Certification is Stupid and Radical Birthwork is the Revolution was actually printed in the Pathways to Family Wellness magazine in their latest issue. So it's kind of cool to know that more people are seeing that and reading that. But that said, it is extremely comprehensive. And we definitely teach way more of the business. I mean, way more of all of the topics. We've had people who were midwives take the doula course and feel like they learned a lot from it, in fact. So we have a lot on all of the birth topics and all of the doula specific topics, but we also have a very robust business section, which maybe I could even just like pull it up and give people a peek if we wanted to. Maybe I'll work on that kind of in the background here, but we talk about all the things from, target market, looking at what other people are in your area, what they're charging, kind of cost comparisons, building a great website, how to do that, SEO, running Facebook ads. Maren and I have done all of that. We had to teach ourselves how to do all of that over the course of the last bunch of years and have successfully taught other people how to do the same thing that we do. We also give you access to for lack of a better word, like swipe files, including actual workshops and classes that you can teach in your community. You can just take them and use them. We try to make sure that you aren't having to reinvent the wheel unless you really want to. and really set you up with a blueprint for success so that you're not left thinking, the number one question that we see in like doula groups on Facebook, for example, is where do I get clients? I did my weekend training. Now what? How do I do this? Like, how do I actually start doing this work? And while I think there's something to be said for just figuring it out on your own, I think there's also a lot to be said with, giving you the puzzle pieces so that you don't have to do that, because our goal really is to have more amazing birth workers out there, and not all of us need to become crazy business nerds. In order to do that, you can also just kind of follow the recipe that we have for you. So I'm going to pull that up if I can. We'll see if it'll let me on my end. My house is
that reminds me, we did a really fun pregnancy nutrition workshop here last weekend, and I was thinking of adding that to the doula program because it was an hour presentation. I have the presentation done. It's so simple. You don't have to know too much to just flip through the presentation, talk a little bit, and then people brought food and everybody shared it. It was really fun, and really, I think, was a great way to create community. So those kind of ideas are available to our students to just use and go ahead and get out there. Because again, why reinvent the wheel necessarily for things like that? You're welcome to, though, of course. I like doing my own thing.
Elizabeth, the blog posts are up a little ways in the chat. You should see them. There's a couple links. So I'm just sharing my screen. We could talk through other pieces of the Doula Academy too, if people wanted to, but since there were these specific questions about the business stuff, like this module is getting sort of obnoxiously long, actually. And I've joked that we should have a whole separate course just for the business piece. But you can see here we have sections on interviewing with potential clients, forms, worksheets, handouts. This is sort of like a smorgasbord of those sorts of things, because we also have that kind of stuff throughout. Creating a website, basic branding. This is a similar training to what you'd get in our business courses at the midwifery school, because it's pretty similar. And I have to say, I think this is something we excel in. I won't get into it. It's a longer story, but basically we've had so many compliments on like the way that we do this and the way that a lot of our students do this out in the world. So we try to keep it pretty simple. And like I said, give support. I just gave someone some email support around this week when they reached out with questions. So we're accessible in that way. Naming your business, SEO for your website, more branding, taking photos for your clients. This is huge. We've had people who left our training and they're doing doula work, but they're also getting paid to do birth photography just because of like some basic training that we include in here. Self-care and how that relates to business stuff. Private membership webinars, so all about PMAs. A little bit about money, which again is a very common theme, especially when I'm on for the week as a facilitator for the doula calls. The complete doula visit guide. Again, this is a kind of swipe file that you can take and use as your, again, blueprint, I guess is the word that comes to mind when it comes to what to talk about with people at different visits. And then you hopefully will riff on that and not just do exactly that, but it gives you a really solid starting point. Pricing, creating freebies, how to create an email auto series, and more. This is like super advanced stuff that, honestly, a lot of people, the freebies and the auto series piece, a lot of people aren't doing that. But if you're ahead of the curve and you're really wanting to get into kind of super nerdy stuff, that's here. Setting up schedulers for your appointments and classes, boring tax stuff, ideal clients, client screening, creating a Facebook pixel and how to boost an event on Facebook. And then this is huge. I mean, this is like in other niches, which it's different for us, but in other types of business, like this section alone, this is something I made this summer for my own business. I teach you how to set it up and give you my entire email series that I send to my clients. And it's also integrated with our 13 Moons course, which is a childbirth education course for parents. So something like this alone would cost like $500 in most places. And so it's just part of this huge business section. But then of course you can see we also have all the good birth stuff too. So questions about any of that? Maybe I'll just scroll slowly. Are you checking the chat box? Did people have anything to say about that? Or was that?
Which percentage of the course is on building a business?
It is one of 10 modules. No, 12 modules, sorry. So it's a 4-month program. So you'll notice that 12 weeks is not the same as 4 months. And that's because most people, like what we recommend that you do is do one of these per week, one module per week, and then give yourself the last month or 4 weeks to go back through or dive deeper into stuff and finish up your final projects. So it's about 8 hours a week of work is what most people have shared with us.
Yeah, this is all online to answer a question.
And it's at your own pace. You get access to all of it when you start. You have the 4-month container to do it in. We do often grant extensions because people, this is a lot. It is a lot of information. And a lot of really cool final projects are part of it too.
So the final projects, just to blab about that, since Sierra asked, if I recall, there are some books to read and some book reviews. And then it's thinking through some like topics and writing things up, whether you use the write-up for your website or, client materials. So, how you support the postpartum is one that I'm remembering. About you, there's a section about you, again, maybe this would go on a website, but we love our students to get really clear on why they're here, why they're in birth work. So sometimes people make a video about that, or like I said, a little write-up. So the projects are not overwhelming. They are meant to help you if you're actually going to do this. They are meant to help you gain clarity. And then, like I said, have materials for a website or brochures or whatever. And we just review those projects, give you some hopefully helpful feedback, and that's it. It's not like a grading thing or, you fail or anything like that. It's just for you to get the opportunity at feedback. And like I said, use it to go forward. The live, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the live calls are weekly. They're an hour once a week on Wednesdays with us. They are recorded and people can watch them after too. There's also an activity feed for the course where you can post questions and that sort of thing in between those. And like I said, I don't make a habit of doing tons of one-on-one email support with people, but if people have a couple questions or whatever, that's totally great. And I'm happy to answer stuff. We've also been known to, if somebody says, hey, I was really hoping this topic would be covered and I don't see it in the course, we have been known to create new content specifically something that is important to add to the doula training. So it's very much a living, breathing thing. We want you to feel like you have all of the information you need and also have had a chance to explore all of the emotional, personal, spiritual stuff so that you feel ready to take on clients by the end, if not before the end. So a lot of our students start taking clients before they've finished, knowing that they're due maybe 6 months out or whatever. So lots of support. I'm just scrolling to see what other ones we didn't talk about at the top. Oh, someone said taking photos at the same time as supporting a mother. And yes, people sometimes call themselves doulatographers. Maren and I both have experienced taking photos at births as a midwife, even. There's, if you haven't been to a birth, maybe it's hard to picture, but there's a lot of downtime. And, with my clients, I just tell them that if the photography's going to get in the way of me doing my midwife job, I won't do it. But generally, I can get lots of really great photos for people at births. Many of the photos, like on our Instagram, for example, are taken by one of us or one of our lovely apprentices.
I just remembered we have a lot of really cool testimonials about the doula program on our YouTube channel. However, the former name was the Birth Warrior Project, so that's what you'll see them listed as. So if you're interested in hearing other students' experience, you can kind of scroll through all of the videos we have on YouTube and check those out.
Sarah had asked way at the top how many clients a doula typically sees at a time, and this varies very widely, just like it varies for midwives. I would say on average, most doulas are doing somewhere between 1 and 4 births a month. That's like a pretty manageable load. Again, depending on your life circumstances and that sort of thing, but there are people who do more than that, but it gets pretty crazy above that number. See if there's any like other quick ones we can just like. This one's not quick, but I think it's a great question and actually speaks really a lot to our philosophy and approach. So Anna had said, how can we relate being a doula and birth educator? Do you want to talk about that? Because I think that's one of the key differences in our training for midwives as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a key. And I can talk about that in a minute. But before I forget, one other key that I was thinking about while you were talking is this whole idea that we can get really clear on the type of woman we want to serve and go from there. So just to, juxtapose that with your average doula training or heck, your average midwifery school that just kind of teaches women that, you serve anyone that walks through the door and all of that, like that is completely not what we believe. And we really hope that you, through our program, do the work to get really clear. So I know it's been really exciting to see some of the doulas come out of our program and say, you know what, I'm done with hospital birth, for example. Doesn't mean that has to be what you say, but like, I see how I was trying to be all things to all people. And if I'm being really me and like really clear and really following my own path, it's home birth only going forward. So again, I think that kind of clarity is really helpful, even in the business perspective, because otherwise you're just kind of like throwing darts at everything. And most of those women end up pretty unfulfilled. And that's more important, of course. But the education piece is also key. And I appreciate it being asked, but also it's almost like in my mind, I can't even separate them. Like I don't even know how to do that because as a midwife, I actually think that's my primary job in a lot of ways is just education. So for a doula, why would it be any different? If women don't know they have a choice, then how do they have one? And, pregnancy nutrition, we kind of touched on that. If someone wants the best experience, what they put in their mouths is pretty much one of the only things they control. So what amazing information we have to share as midwives, as doulas, that really can change someone's experience. And we can just offer it and they may take, what resonates with them and they may leave the rest or whatever. So if we're not educating, like, again, it's almost like confusing to me, like, what are other doulas doing? I don't know, just presenting a list of birth options. You have to educate. Otherwise, there's nothing behind what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think that ties into, and this maybe is boring, so I'll keep it short unless people are seemingly interested, but that's why we also haven't come out with the childbirth education course, which people also ask us for all the time. Because that is essentially what our doula training is. It's just hard to market it that way. Doula Academy / childbirth educator training. And the focus isn't on like, here's how you teach a childbirth series, but we would expect that once you've done our training, you'd be very well poised to create something of your own pretty easily, and or take the couple of things that we've given you to use, and you could build a series around that if you really wanted to. That said, it is on the docket and is an unfinished project here, to also create a childbirth education course that we're not sure how it'll sit alongside the Doula Academy. It will be separate. But that is something that's in the pipeline for probably 2023, if that's something you're interested in. And yet, I also think, especially if you're someone who is relatively new to birth work, even if you've already been trained as a doula, I think taking the Doula Academy first would probably really behoove you, because that would set you up for being able to teach the material that we're going to have in the childbirth education course. Or, it's going to be more like I guess I'll stop talking about it now because it's not done yet.
Well, and like the way easier version, because I think a lot of women get intimidated by teaching. I mean, even women that know a lot about birth, there's that like, oh, like I don't want to get in front of people. And what do I know? What if people ask a question I don't know? So I get that there's like a lot around putting yourself out there as the teacher, which is again why our 13 Moons is awesome. You're a doula, have your client donate to 13 Moons, right? For $30, she gets the 50 hours of education. And then you can kind of like be a study buddy almost, and you can sort of assign stuff, which is what we do with our midwifery clients. Go listen to the nutrition sections, then come back and we'll have a talk about it. And, so you can kind of use that as your education for the clients that you're seeing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel for every piece you want to teach them, especially the pretty standard stuff, like nutrition. There's certainly going to be things you want to customize, and some of you really will get into teaching, and that's great. But again, just to kind of dissipate the stage fright around teaching, it's really not that hard because you're offering information and you can put it on us. You could be like, oh, well, it's their course, so here you go. Yeah, 13 Moons is what we use for our own clients. So of course it's reasonable. And I think it's beyond reasonable because it's still a pay what you can course. So, if you're familiar with it and you appreciate the content, then why wouldn't it be something you guys recommend? It makes perfect sense to me.
And not to, again, I just have to accept that I'm the boring technology lady now. That's just who I am in this lifetime. But just to go back to that for a second, like that is what some of our doula students are doing. They're taking, again, my training on how to use Dubsado. They're taking the emails that I've already built for you that you can go in and tweak to like include your voice or change things if you don't agree with them. They're gestation specific. So like there's a 12-week email, a 16-week email, a 20-week email with all the topics for those gestations. And they have required and optional 13 Moons assignments hyperlinked in them so that you don't have to do anything except for, tweak that if you want to add more, if it's too many and you want to take some off of the required or optional. And they can literally just click that link in the email that you send them automatically. You don't have to do it. Like you set it up so it's magical. And it takes them to those required assignments or lessons in 13 Moons for you. So like we've made it really, really easy to, again, take what we've already made. And, if you want to teach something, fantastic. And if not, there's this other amazing, really inexpensive option. Some doula students or graduates are having their clients buy it themselves. So pay what you can. They just send them the link and they say, you need to enroll in this. Or some of them are including it in their fee, again, because it's pay what you can. And so either of those options are easy. You just would include their email as the email when you registered them, if that makes sense. And honestly, a lot of midwives should be doing this too. I don't think they know about it. Maybe that should go on our project list. I
think it would be fun to talk here at the end, at least briefly, about the path into radical midwifery, perhaps from doula, just because someone did post that.
They did.
And we of course care very much about creating more radical midwives. We do have a in-person retreat coming up next month. Oh my gosh, it's like literally in exactly a month on Oahu. And just this week, somebody I think messaged, or maybe multiple people, and said, like, is this for doulas? Like, maybe it's not quite clear, but it's called Answering the Call to Radical Midwifery. But certainly, if you're a doula that is curious about that path, you are welcome to come. It is not for midwives. It's not for people that have already apprenticed and have already chosen this. It's actually designed to sit with you all for 2 full days and sort through that, like what might be holding you back or where you are on the path. So it doesn't mean you want to become a midwife tomorrow, but it means that maybe that's in your long view. And sitting in person with Margot and I'm pretty sure has proved to be very helpful to the women that have chosen to come. We've offered this twice here in Kentucky, and that has been amazing. And now this third time will be in Hawaii, and will be different, I'm sure, just by virtue of being in a different place with different energy, not in our space, not in my space. So we do welcome any or all of you to apply for that. And perhaps, Margot, you could type the link quick. But yeah, that would be like the short and long answer to that. Like, how do those roles connect? Those are the kind of discussions we have there. What needs to happen to get from doula to enrolling in midwifery school or practicing as a radical midwife? I think it's a great question. And so many of the women we've held space for during that retreat have been doulas. Again, Margot and I didn't come from that doula path, but many women do. And many women do make that leap. And it's really fun to see how they change and shift and evolve to get to the place where that is the next step. So it's not for every doula. I totally appreciate that and hear that. But for a lot of you, it will be. So, check that out if you haven't. I don't know when we'll offer it again. Certainly, I won't be leaving my baby again because I'm already nervous about leaving him in a month. So this is it, unless it's back here in Kentucky next year sometime, is my feeling, but we'll see.
Excellent. I did post the link over there. Were there any other questions that we haven't answered that people have asked? Or type away if you haven't asked your question yet.
Yeah, or type it again if we missed it, please, because it's sometimes hard to like go back through here. So we have students enrolled in the Indie Birth Midwifery School and the doula program that are around the world. The way we teach and the kind of midwifery that we are hoping to proliferate in the world is really outside of what anyone says we can or cannot do. So, we went over this last Zoom circle, I think, the difference between being a midwife in the system, perhaps a hospital-based midwife, right, in the UK, or an independent midwife. There's lots of different kinds of midwives. And so again, if she's curious about this and maybe it comes from a place like you're expressing, Diane, about not wanting a certain thing, then she can certainly contact us and, somebody will answer all of her questions. There's also the indiebirthmidwiferyschool.org site for her to check out. Tons of information there.
What's a blanket statement you'd say is the biggest difference between an indie birth doula and a doula from a different background, if that makes sense? I'm curious if, I know there's a couple people on here who have done like a more mainstream training and then came to us and did our training. So I'm just curious if any of those people who are on here, no pressure, want to share their experience, because I think that would be, more impactful than hearing it from me. So I don't know. I'll wait a moment, see if any of them unmute themselves. It's okay if not.
Are you saying those who have done the Doula Academy?
Yeah, and had maybe done a different training first.
Okay, cool. Hi everybody. I'm Angelia. I finished the Doula Academy, I think in April, earlier this year, around that time. And I can truly say I did like one of the generic doula trainings in the beginning, through Dona International 4 years ago. And even after 4 years of being a doula, after, diving really deep in the indie birth 4 month training, I can say that I have a deeper connection with my clients, and my mind was blown on so many levels of the information that they give and the wisdom that they share. And I just recommend it all around to everyone. So I definitely can attest to how amazing their course is and how it's made a difference in my life as a doula and now in their midwifery school. So
You're like the poster girl tonight. You answered that question and the piece about moving into the midwifery realm. Done it all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And Jasmine over in the chat, for people who are maybe watching on YouTube, said, haven't done indie yet, but I was certified with a big company and there were so many limitations placed on us, like no essential oils use and no recommending herbs. So, right, that's like one of the chief complaints that people have, is just, that a lot of the bigger organizations are very bossy about what you can do and what you can't do. And at the end of the day, we really don't care what you do, because we're not putting a stamp on you anyways, right? We're just trying to give you the information that you need, that we think you need, and trust that you'll, make good choices out there in the world. And it's funny because it's like, they're not going to ever know if one of their doulas is doing those things anyways. So it's just like all sort of like this fake control. It's an odd thing. So I try not to talk smack about other groups because it's not a good look, but there's definitely not a lot of people doing the work, the work to train doulas in a way that really is inspiring there in the world. There are some, but yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, and obviously I think it comes back to just philosophies and beliefs. So, there really aren't wrong belief systems. They're just different. And I think if we're really looking at changing the world through powerful birth, then the way we are approaching women and how they birth as midwives and doulas is the exact same way we approach training midwives and doulas. So if we don't trust women as a whole to make choices for themselves, and, we believe that someone else is inherently responsible for their births, then, we could potentially train people that way. And there's all kinds of like control and power dynamics around that. And we really, really trust that if you're in tune with yourself and willing to get to that place, and that's a continued path. That's not like you do the doula training and you're done. I mean, it's work we're all doing every day. If you're willing to be on that and work in integrity, then you're not looking to control anybody. You're not looking to control that mama that's birthing. And, we're not looking to control you. It's one and the same. So if we believe in autonomy, then we believe in autonomy, and that's all,
And that's all, folks.
That's all, folks. Well, it's true. It's like it comes down to like trust of yourself and the process and your role in this world. So if you have doubts about that, then that's where you have to do the work, rather than entering into a box that tells you what you can or cannot do because you haven't thought through it for yourself and you haven't felt through it for yourself. And then the irony would be that you would go to other women and, try to hold space for them, perhaps also in a state of confusion. So if you see it that way, again, it's not like bad or wrong. It just allows you to see really how fucked up the world is and how women have become just so subservient in their roles in birth work. And that was always my main complaint, again, with doula trainings, was that it was just watching women enable each other. And that, you know, that is definitely the opposite of what we would love you all to do.
So I'm going to put in the chat a link, which would be your next step if you're someone who is interested in pursuing this with us. It's indiebirth.org/clarity calls. And I'm not sure, I know our very lovely team member who does these calls, it's her birthday next week. So I think she's got a little bit less availability actually than usual. Maybe I'll go check. But if you don't see a time on there, you can just email me and I'll hook you up with her to get that set up. It's a chance to just talk about the program, your goals, if it's the right fit for you, and then next steps. And we are running a deal, which I actually don't know that I know the exact details of off the top of my head, but we are running a deal through the end of the year. So I would encourage you to set up a call sooner than later. If you're like 500% sure you want to do this and you're like, oh, just send me over like the stuff to register. You can also email me, margo@indiebirth.org. I'll put it in the chat and let me know that, and I can get you set up without doing a call too, if you want.
All right, well, I have a child screaming downstairs. It's kind of that magic hour for many of us, if you're at least in my time zone. So thanks all for being here. I don't remember off the top of my head what the next Moon Circle call is, but no fear, there shall be an email, if not many emails about it, and on our social, if you would love to be there. If you're coming from Instagram or something, the social network is where we kind of all can connect, and it's where the doula program is actually housed, as well as the midwifery school. So I'll put the address there, but otherwise.
Someone asked if the clarity calls are one-on-one. Yes, they are. They're one-on-one for, I think, 30 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, and just, reading, Diane, thank you for sharing, and thank you for connecting. Thank you all for being here on this full moon, and we hope to see you back. These topics vary widely. So tonight was obviously very doula specific, but we've shown birth videos and typically talk probably more about midwifery here. So we'd love to see you back every 2 weeks or so.